This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been sponsored in part by Irving Cliff Brewery. If you're in Northeast Pennsylvania and you're looking for some of the finest craft beer around, look no further than the Irving Cliff Brewery, located at 2 Chapel Street in lovely historic Honesdale. With an attention to detail that feels high-end and small-town comfort, Irving Cliff Brewery does beer, and they do it very, very well. Irving Cliff Brewery, 2 Chapel Street, Honesdale, PA 18431. Now on to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Coarse Grind Podcast. This is episode number 33, the Double Threes. How are you doing? Sean Rossler, host, creator, with you as always. You know, just in case you weren't exactly sure whether or not I was a fan of Top Chef, let alone this season of Top Chef, well, as they say here in the backwoods, here's your sign. In all seriousness, the talent and overall caliber of skill has been off the charts this season. That's no disparaging comment to previous seasons. That's just the level they are at right now. So you can imagine how eager I was to snag a chef testant from the show, and as luck would have it, I was able to get one of the best, certainly one of my favorites. Tonight's guest is a 2015 James Beard nominee for Best Chef in the Northeast. After graduating from the Cambridge School of Culinary Arts, she traveled the globe passionately pursuing all ends of the hospitality spectrum, from cooking to service to bartending. After settling in Boston over a decade ago, our guest found various successes as sous chef at Via Mata and Beehive restaurants in Boston and Oleana in Cambridge. Her international work includes the role as chef at l'Avion Bleu Enoteca in Modena, Italy. Her food is as soulful, fiery, and passionate as she is, and she strives to create craveable dishes at her funky Asian dig, Myers & Chang. She's strong, she's talented, and a joy and 3/4 to watch. I'm not exaggerating, I'm not kidding. I've got her here for the show already, so I'm not trying to kiss her ass. I'm just being honest. But let's stop with the chatter and bring her on. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guest this morning, the executive chef of Myers & Chang and another culinary standout on this season of Bravo TV's award-winning Top Chef, Chef Karen Akunowicz. Chef Karen, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I am awesome, Sean. How are you doing today?
I am fabulous, but it's more about you being awesome. Yes, you are. You've certainly endeared yourself to the crowds. I couldn't wait for this call, honestly.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's really nice. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. So thank you for taking the time out of what I'm sure is a ridiculously busy schedule. But I want to pick your brain and find out more about you because, honestly, you've been one of the most entertaining contestants in the history of the show to watch. So,
Sean, flattery will get you everywhere.
I know it. That's why I'm trying so hard. So, ladies and gentlemen and listeners who have never listened before, we have starters, we have mains, we have afters, 3 sections of questions. And so, without further ado, we will jump right into it. Chef Karen, tell me about where and what you grew up eating.
Where and what I grew up eating? Well, I am from Kearney, New Jersey. As my mom always says, you can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. So things that I grew up eating, I mean, things that I feel are really important in my kind of food history are like New Jersey has the best delis and diners in the world. If you say, hey, do you want to go to the diner, you have to specify which one. You're probably going to the one closest to your house. I grew up, my first job in a restaurant was at the Arlington Diner, down the street from my house, and they have truly the world's best cheesecake. There is a sign that says it outside, but I definitely believe that to be true. So things like that were a really big part of my childhood and growing up where I'm from. You celebrated by going to the diner. You went to the deli every morning. It was not just where you were picking up your Portuguese buttered roll and Clinton's iced tea, but it was also where people came together. It was a sense of community as well. So those are big parts of what I grew up eating.
That's really awesome because I'm from Northeast Pennsylvania, and while not identical, because we have relatives who live in New Jersey, my small town was very diner driven.
Yeah.
It was like which diner. You can't just say the diner. Yep.
Yeah. Do you want to go to Tops? Do you want to go to the Arlington Diner? That's a big thing. But so here's my question for you. I'm going to turn it on you, Sean. Do you call it pork roll? Because I call it Taylor ham.
Yeah, it's Taylor ham.
Taylor ham.
It's Taylor ham all day. There is a bagel shop. We currently, my family, my 3 sons, my wife and dog and such, we live in a college town, and there is a bagel shop, 2 of them actually, Bloomin' Bagels. There's a free plug for you.
Yeah.
It's Taylor ham and cheese.
Taylor ham, yeah. So for me, a really big thing is Taylor ham, egg and cheese on a hard roll.
Oh yes.
SDK, right? SDK, salt, pepper, ketchup. That's a big deal. And in my house, like growing up, and even now, when if me and my spouse are at home, like staying with my parents or staying with my sister, the one who gets the gold star for the day is the person who gets up in the morning and goes and gets the bagels.
Bagel run, and
the bagel run is if you're the one that gets up and gets the bagels, you are like. You get the gold star for the day.
You get it for the day. Right on.
Yeah. For the day.
Yeah, if you ever want to see a cross-section of the college populace, just drive by Bloomin' at about 9, 10 in the morning, and you're going to see a trail of people still in their pajamas, not really giving too many shits about what they look like, standing in that line waiting for SPK, Taylor ham and cheese, on an everything bagel.
Yeah.
For sure.
So to me, that's a big part of what I grew up eating as a kid, and eating dinner with my family and things like that. But if you want to talk about things that are still really special and near and dear to my heart, it's
that kind of stuff.
It's diners and it's delis and that kind of stuff that you can't get, and I'm convinced you can't get anywhere else.
Exactly. I just need to mark today as the day that Chef Karen turned the table on me, and I got asked a question by a top chef on my podcast. I am flattered. I thought Neil Fraser was a big deal. No, Chef Karen asking me a question, I feel pretty good about myself right now. So thank you.
God, I can't wait till we hang out in real life. This is excellent.
Well, we're obviously not that far away. We've got to make it happen. So outside of your more New Jersey tri-state area traditions, what kind of an eater were you growing up? Were you picky? Were you particular?
I think I was, kind of like a regular kid eater. I don't think I was incredibly particular. My sister was one of those kids that like nothing on the plate could touch.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing on the plate could touch, no touching. So I don't think I was picky in that way. And I'm sure I know when we were much little, my mom employed all the things that you do to get kids to like eat their vegetables, like putting cheese on your broccoli, or we used to put like Italian dressing on our green beans or things like that. But I think that I have memories of like we used to go down the shore for our family vacation every year. We used to go to Wildwood. And that was a really big deal. We stayed in Wildwood Crest. And I can remember going to a place called the Lobster Shack for the first time. It's actually not a shack. It's a bigger restaurant. And, it was kind of like, that was the your one fancy, dinner out.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember eating, they had like homemade oyster crackers on the table that were just kind of rock hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember eating that. I remember walking in and I remember how it smelled and being just intrigued by it. And I remember eating those oyster crackers that were kind of rock hard, and I remember the texture of it. And I remember eating lobster for the first time. And my mom's a fantastic eater. My mom will try anything and is really into. When I started cooking, this is kind of a cool thing. When I started cooking, and my mom started to visit me in Boston and go out to eat with me, eating offal and eating charcuterie and trying lots of different things. She would try anything, and she is just a fantastic eater. So I think that I probably get that from her.
Mm-hmm.
And she always, my mom's thing was, like if we went out somewhere, we could order whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
She would let you order whatever you wanted, so you could try something that you hadn't tried before. But she would always get a steak, so that if we didn't like what we ate,
mm-hmm.
we could eat her steak, and she would eat whatever we ordered.
And how did she order her steak?
My mom, if you ever go out to dinner with my mom and my mother orders a steak, it is bloody rare, still mooing. And she will make sure to tell you that. She wants it rare. There's no joke about that. She wants to make sure that you understand. She has to go through the whole, I want it still mooing kind of thing. Yes. Yeah, she's a pretty awesome lady.
Walk that cow out. I'll take a bite out of it myself.
Right.
We'll be in good shape. Right on, man. She sounds awesome, and it sounds like the awesomeness definitely carried over.
We are definitely cut from the same cloth.
That sounds like a good thing to me. You were talking about the putting cheese on broccoli and everything. My wife being from a pseudo Pennsylvania Dutch background, kids don't usually eat lima beans, but we put brown butter on ours, and our 8 and 6 year old dominate them.
That's brilliant, actually. That's a really good one.
Brown butter is like basically the vessel by which we get everything into these kids. You'd swear they don't eat by the looks of them, but they're eating. So Child Protective Services, if you're listening, we're feeding our children. Relax.
We're feeding our kids, and everything is drenched in brown butter. No, I'm going to file that one away. I think that's a really good one.
Oh, brown butter is just ridiculous. So you have these awesome memories. You have these awesome diner memories and all of this. Is there a particular food? I hear from so many people there is a nostalgia trigger for certain foods that just, beyond the Taylor ham and cheese, bagel or on a hard roll, which you could get anywhere. Is there a childhood food that you think back to and you just miss like an old friend? And see, it's a tricky question for chefs of as high caliber as you folks, because really, if you have that, you can try to recreate it, and in most cases, succeed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that for me, things that create that kind of nostalgia are not just the actual food or the dish, it's the feeling that goes along with it.
Yes.
So, my mom would make a pot of spaghetti, and she would use ragu, like jarred sauce, and she'd always say, I'm doctoring it up, and she would add, she would make meatballs to add to it, she would add sausage to it, and she would season it and do all that stuff. But it started with, a jar of sauce, and it would simmer all day, and I remember coming home from whether it was, a crew meet or, musical rehearsal or softball practice or whatever it is, and I remember how it feels the night you walk in, and that's what my mom had going for dinner, and that feeling, that nostalgic feeling, is one of the best things for me in the world. Last year, my spouse and I had a trip planned to go to St. Thomas right after Valentine's Day, and my spouse was born on Valentine's Day, so
terrific.
Yeah, which is very, very sweet. And it was a blizzard here in Boston last year, and our flight got canceled. And we tried to book another flight, and it got canceled. 3 flights got canceled, and they said, we might be able to get you out of Newark Airport, thinking that there was no way we were going to try and fly out of Newark. And we were like, oh, it's on.
Right.
We rented a car. I was like, that's fine. That's 10 minutes from my parents' house. We rented a car. We drove to my parents' house, called them. We were like, we're literally, it was starting to kind of snow behind us. We're like, the blizzard is chasing us. We're not missing this trip, and showed up at my parents' house, and it was LJ's birthday, and we walked in, and my mom had a big pot of sauce going.
Oh, that's terrific.
And garlic bread, and all of this stuff, and we all sat down at the table, and that for me, my mom making spaghetti, that's a feeling that there's nothing like coming home to that. And the way my mom's house smells and being with my family.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the most nostalgic.
How good is that? And that just, the premise for this humble show has always been food transcends, point A to point B to point C. You eat it, you use it, you get rid of it. There's more heart to it. And I think it probably is going to go without saying, but I'll ask the question anyway. Your greatest culinary influence growing up sounds like it was your mom.
Yeah, I think so. My mom, she's really funny. She's actually testing recipes for our cookbook, for the Myers & Chang cookbook that Joanne Chang and I are writing right now. And she starts off when she has all these questions she has to answer. We have a group of people who are testing, and they're all folks that are friends and family and people who have tested for Joanne before, but they're regular home cooks, because we want to make sure that these are recipes that people can actually make, and they work for somebody at home, and they can find the ingredients. My mom kind of starts out every email when she sends us our feedback like, I'm not a very good cook. And I would definitely disagree with that. I think that, I think that she was a great cook. She makes this thing called, she just calls it meat pie. Everyone says, oh, is it a shepherd's pie? And I said, no, it's not. There's no, like, mashed potatoes on top, but it's a pie crust, and it's, all of the, I'm sure it was really inexpensive kind of cut of meat and carrots and potatoes and all of that good stuff inside of it. And when she made it, I will say the best part of it was she would take the pie dough scraps. She would brush them with butter and cinnamon and sugar and roll them up into little pinwheels.
Oh.
That's what you'd have after dinner. And that's actually the reason that my sister and I love meat pie night. But she would make us come downstairs to the kitchen, and she would say, everybody look at the pie that I made and admire it. And which I think was pretty great, because she had worked really hard on it. She was like, before everyone sits down and devours it, everyone has to look and say, wow, Mom, that's really beautiful.
You must walk 3 laps around the table with knowing looks upon your face.
Oh, my God.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you have this incredible culinary backdrop. I mean, I think it goes without saying, it's just a beautiful, historic retrospective on you. Where was the point that you had the aha moment and you went, wow, food is more than point A to point B to point C?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that definitely came later for me in life. I didn't start cooking until my 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But I had worked in restaurants for a long time. So I think I worked in the front of the house, as a server and as a bartender. And I think I always got the connection between food and community. That for me remains an incredibly strong connection. And hospitality. The act of going out to a restaurant and having somebody take care of you, not just feed you, but treat you well, maybe introduce you to something that you haven't had before. I love restaurants, and I love the hospitality in restaurants as well. And like I said, I had worked in the front of the house for a long time. I started cooking to impress a girl and just try and get her to go out with me. I had been trying for a while. I was like, wow, you should ask me out on a date, and like nothing. That's like my go. That's my big move. Like, you should probably ask me out, or you should take me out. And I was getting nowhere, which I was not used to. And so at one point I was finally like, oh, you should come over and I'll cook for you. I could not cook. I didn't cook. I couldn't cook. I didn't cook for myself on a regular basis. I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was bartending 5 nights a week at night. I was working during the day in human services. I did not cook, and I was like, oh, you should come over and I'll cook for you. And she was like, okay, when should I come over?
You're in.
And I was like, oh, crap.
This is happening. What do I do?
This is happening. And I went out and bought a cookbook and cooked that night. And
do you remember the cookbook? Do you remember which book it was?
It was some Italian cookbook. I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But I made puttanesca that night, and I've told this story before. I think it was probably really bad. I think I didn't do a very good job. I'm sure I didn't rinse the capers. I think it was probably really salty. I don't know. I think it probably wasn't good. But I have this memory and this moment of being like, oh my God, I just made this thing, and I fed it to somebody, and it feeling like magic, like putting that recipe together for the first time.
Totally.
Yeah, and it was the same person a couple of years, maybe 2 years later, who I was then dating at the time, and we lived together, and I was applying to get my master's degree in social work.
Mm-hmm.
And she was kind of like, I don't understand why I kind of don't understand why you're doing this. You never talk about what you're going to do when you have your own practice or you're a social worker or whatever it is, but you talk about what you'll do when you own your own restaurant all the time. And that was that was kind of a big turning point. And I enrolled in culinary school 2 weeks later.
And the rest, as they say, is history. Look at you now.
History.
Look at you now on Top Chef. And, you bring up such an awesome point, and your front of house experience was beyond clear on the show, obviously.
Thank you.
You've got that. And my wife and I obviously being the parents of 3 kids, we, going out isn't as easy as it once was. But if we go out and and if anybody is listening, anybody's in the front of the house and you think, maybe you don't matter as much as the back of the house, believe me, you do. My wife and I have historically tipped between 50 and 100% because you've made us feel welcome. And the food can be subpar. The food can be lacking. But if the environment is there, take it from Chef Karen. Yes, take care of the people. You want to be taken care of. You want to be just catered to, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. Totally. And you want to leave that feeling better than you came in. Yes. I think that's one of the things people talk about. I know, sure, I go to some restaurant is new, or I want to try the food, or I'm really interested in the cuisine that they're serving, or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But you go back because you felt good when you left.
Yes.
And that has so much to do with the kind of, service, hospitality that you received while you were there. I know I go to, I say this all the time, I go to Coba and Ateca all the time, and everyone's like, well, yeah, it's around the corner from Myers and Chang. There's a lot of restaurants that are around the corner from Myers and Chang. I go to a lot of them, but when I go there, I leave feeling better than I walked in the door every time. Yep. And to me, that makes it a place that I'm going to go back, and part of it is because the people who work there are really warm and welcoming, and the food is something that reminds me of very much of the year I spent living in Italy. So that to me has that connection, that food memory for me. And you go back because it makes you feel good. Yeah,
for sure. And you brought up another extremely important thing that people need to be able to do. Your comfort zone needs to be demolished, broken down for kindling, and burned in a funeral pyre. Listen to people suggesting things to you when you go to these restaurants. Right. They know their shit in and out, and they've honed it. They're putting their hearts. Who's the Michelin star chef that recently committed suicide? The name escapes me, but the premise is that these people, these artists, are putting their heart on a plate to you. They're not going to steer you wrong. Now, you might not like an element in it, but if they say to you, you should try this, well, damn it, try it. Try it at least once. Right.
Right.
Again, and that gets into the whole feeling better, because if you try something new and you love it and you have this new realm of experiences, you're walking out of there feeling like a world traveler.
Right.
So.
Right. Wow, listen to you. This is like a PSA announcement for going out to restaurants. This is fantastic.
The More You Know is going to be the logo going across the screen. Ding. That's an NBC plug. Bravo, NBC. Got it. So... And I mean, to be honest, I'm 33 episodes deep. I hope I'm doing better than I was with episode 1. So anyway, so that's how you got to where you are. And you are at a wonderful, wonderful place. Myers and Chang in Boston, 1145 Washington Street, South End, correct?
Correct.
And 617-542-5200.
That is correct. Also.
Give it a call for. So let's talk about Chef Karen. Again, taking a step outside of Top Chef. That's how we know you. That's how I come into these personalities. But let's take a look at the Chef Karen that got Chef Karen there. Myers and Chang, your culinary, career. Where do you draw your inspiration from? When you're trying to put something together, be it a dish, a menu, or anything, is there a certain place you go and pick from?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the places that I go and pick from, a lot of them are exactly what we just talked about. There are dishes that I make that are a tongue-in-cheek reference to my childhood. There are dishes that I make that come from the time I spent in Italy. And then I put my own spin on them, and you create something new and something different, or everyone says, you turn it into something that's Southeast Asian. And yeah, some dishes are very authentic, but most of them are just very personal. I'll give you a great example. When I was a kid, we grew up eating green beans, almond beans. for holidays, right? Like the Bird's Eye package.
Yep.
And my sister and I love them. You get the little slivered almonds from the silver packet on top. And one of the dishes that I have, it's not on the menu now, but I've made before, and it's going into the cookbook, is green beans, long beans, almondine with XO brown butter.
Ooh.
So I just said that, and I was like, oh my God, you're going to love this. So that moment of it being a holiday and it being really special and something my sister and I really loved, and my mom making for us, taking that with kind of the butter sauce and the slivered almonds and saying, okay, how do we make this? How do I want to share this with people, right? I want to share this with people. How do I do that? So we use long beans instead of green beans, and I make brown butter, and then I make XO sauce, which is, if you're not familiar, it's a condiment from Hong Kong. Lots of umami, dried shrimp, dried scallops, ham, ginger, garlic, chili. So it's spicy and it's funky and it's redolent of the ocean and all of those things. And I make an XO brown butter and dress the beans in the beans get charred in the wok. They get tossed with the XO brown butter. The brown butter like mellows out the XO a little bit, makes it kind of nutty and sweet, and then spicy candied sliver almonds on top.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's an example of saying, like, this is something that I've taken from my childhood that meant something to me. I want to share that feeling with other people, and this is kind of how I put a spin on it.
Yeah, and I'm certain, without having been there, but since it's Boston and I'm Pennsylvania, it's got to happen. I'm sure that feeling comes across, and if you don't get it, I feel bad for you if you've eaten it and you don't understand that. That's perfect.
So.
That's perfect. Looking at creations then, is there one well, I mean, it could be the long beans with brown butter XO. Is there one creation that stands out to you as, like, the creation you've made?
Oh, gosh.
It's kind of like me picking a favorite kid. Honestly, some days I can do that, and I shouldn't, but I can.
Yeah, I think that's hard. That's exactly what I tell people. When people say, what is your favorite dish on the menu? I say, that would be like choosing my favorite child.
Yeah.
They're all my favorites at some point in time in different ways. And you don't want to, it almost feels like, you don't want to say one thing is your favorite over the other. And of course, things depend seasonally and all of that good stuff. Something that has been on the menu for a long time, that is pretty special to me, is our Szechuan dandan noodles. We have cold Taiwanese dandan noodles, which is one of Joanne's dishes that comes from her childhood and her family. And people asked for, and people love them, people asked for the hot pork-based Szechuan dandan noodles as well. Mm-hmm. And I lived in Italy for a year. I lived in Modena, in Emilia-Romagna. I spent a lot of time in Bologna. So my Bolognese recipe is basically what I took and adapted to become our Szechuan dandan noodles with chili oil and 5-spice and soy sauce, ginger and garlic and scallions, and lots of mushrooms and umami, and a Shanghai-style noodle with a pork belly crumble on top. But that was something that's very personal to me, that has become, I would say, an important part of the Myers and Chang menu, and that's sort of how I came to that.
Right on. So on my calendar right now, I'm just writing down, make trip to Boston just for funsies a week from now. Like, now I've got to go. Jesus, God in heaven.
Yeah, you have to pencil it in. Let me know when you're coming.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds. I mean, all of it sounds amazing. The web presence is phenomenal. That's from an IT guy. That's. I mean, it's so clear. It's so elegant. It's so well done. So definitely need to come up and check it out sooner than later. Myers and Chang. So, going beyond creations, going into trends. Just like any other industry, I'm sure the culinary field is trend driven, be it fortunately or unfortunately. What do you see with your, vaulted knowledge base of the field? What's going to be the next big thing? It used to be the foams, the molecular, Then it became, wasn't there a toast trend for a while?
Oh, yeah.
That was annoying.
But the toast trend, that's real. You know, it's I guess, you know, I want to say it's hard for me to say. I'm so not trendy at all. I'm like the least, I'm like the least trendy person that I know. I'm like, I like to braise things for 6 hours overnight. Like, that's how I.
But it can't be bad if you braise it for 6 hours or overnight.
Right,
It's gonna
like,
work.
This is, you know, I'm so not trendy. I think that there are things that I think, and there are things that I wonder. I think that, you know, fluid gels are the new foam maybe, and I think that, and something I love to see and that I do myself is I think that juices, kind of like braising vegetables in their own juices, like beets and beet juice, or carrots cooked in carrot juice, or something like that. I think that's kind of a thing which I think is really cool. Or like juicing kale to make a sauce out of. I think that's really neat. I wonder how much longer the small plates sort of trend is going to continue. I wonder if at some point we're going to return to a more appetizer, entree, dessert style of eating, a more maybe grown-up or adult style of eating. I love to eat small, of course, because I want to try everything. But I wonder if that's something that will come back into fashion. You know, right now, Southeast Asian flavors, at least here in Boston, are sort of blowing up all over the place. And like I said, in terms of not being trendy, I'm like, oh, I've been doing it for like 5 years now.
Right.
We're like the old kid on the block, you know. And I think that for us right now, Greek flavors are sort of exploding all over Boston, which is really exciting. I love Greek food. I had the privilege of working with Cassie Piuma, who is the chef owner at Sarma. I was her sous chef at Oleana, and she had taken some really great trips to Greece and brought back a lot of those flavors and dishes. And you know, she and Anna were sort of doing that before, you know, this kind of explosion. But that's blowing up as well, which is exciting. I don't know. I mean, will real fine dining make a comeback?
That would be spectacular. I think. I don't know if you're a fan, but
yeah, it's more. I guess I have more speculation than sort of like announcements.
Yeah. No. Totally. Just you being as close as you are, and you know, obviously being as skillful and knowledgeable as you are, you know, you would certainly be a good source for that information. So,
right.
You heard it here. So, career-wise, I mean, what's up for you? You know, obviously you're killing it in Top Chef. I mean, you're putting on a show, basically. No pun intended. Maybe pun fully intended. I don't know. But what's down the road for you? What's the 5-year?
What's the 5-year? Gosh, I am just trying to keep this year going.
All right. Well, what's the this year?
Well, right now, one of the things that I'm really working on is the Myers & Chang cookbook. I mentioned this earlier, but Joanne and I are writing the Myers & Chang cookbook together, so that is a big part of what I'm doing right now, and that is going to come out in September of 2017, which will be the Myers & Chang 10-year anniversary.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is really exciting and feels sort of commemorative and important. So that is something that's really important. Maybe working on a new restaurant with the team from Myers & Chang. You know, I'm still here and just keeping everything running here.
Yeah.
And, you know, I usually have, I'm a Virgo, so I like order and I like...
Oh, God, my wife's a Virgo. My wife's a Virgo.
Yeah.
I know.
You know, it's like, this is my 1-month plan, my 5 months, my year plan, my 5-year plan, my 10-year plan. But right now, I'm really focused on the now and the restaurant and, you know...
Well, just like with the trends and not being trendy, you know, that's like the braising. If it's not broke, don't mess with it.
Right.
It works.
Right. It's true.
Roll on.
I mean, I have this idea that, you know, when 10 years from now, or like quote unquote when I retire, I want to open a restaurant in Maine and run a seasonal restaurant in Mid-Coast Maine. My spouse and I we're very lucky. My in-laws have a house in Aroustic, Maine, right near Bath, and we got married in that area. We spend a great deal of time there, and we'd love to move there someday. So maybe someday further down the line, a little seasonal place in Mid-Coast Maine. That's part of the dream.
Part of the dream. Part of the dream,
yeah.
And you're living part of it too. That's for sure. We've got a my wife and I the 5 years to do a little 10 top. That kind of gig. And we've, jokingly, when we stay up late at night, cook for each other and drink wine, we make the menu. So I'll have to Facebook you a picture of the menu that we've written over the years. You can have a little laugh with that.
Anytime you want to invite me over for dinner to just try any of those things.
You have an open invite.
Give me a text.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
For sure. Open invite. You heard it here. It's on the record. It can't be retracted. So
now
open
everybody knows.
It'll be like 2 in the morning.
When I show up at your door at midnight, I'm like, hey, how about one of those late night wine drinking dinner tastings?
You got it. I'll be like, honey, come on, get up.
Okay.
Right on. So, all right. So let's shift gears a little bit here into the afters. I'm standing in your kitchen, and you can pick if it's professionally or at home. What music do I hear?
Oh gosh. What music do you hear? If I'm in my kitchen at work, you probably hear Beyonce.
Nice.
Maybe some Rihanna. You will probably hear Adele. Everybody knows that. Like the rest of the world, I'm completely enamored by Adele.
How can you not be? How can you not be?
How can you not be? Bruce Springsteen.
Well, that's Jersey coming out. That's Jersey right there.
Oh yeah. I mean, forever and ever and ever. If I'm at home, it's probably a little more chill. I was home yesterday. I had a rare day off with my spouse, and we were making breakfast, and so we were listening to Deb Talon, Mary Lambert, the Weepies. So definitely some chill at home kind of music.
Love it. How's your mouth in the kitchen? I know editing can be a bit of a tricky widget on the show, but if you had to rate it using the movie scale, what would you say? Be honest. We're all friends here. I just invited you over to our house, for God's sake.
It's probably. I think I'm a little bit better now than I used to be. I'm getting older, right? I'm 37. I'm trying to, grow up and mature and all of those things. So I would say that my mouth probably, in general, is kind of an R. I drop a lot of F-bombs, and I think that that's just like an adjective. But I try and keep it. Keep it a little bit cleaner, so maybe PG-13.
PG-13,
If
okay.
Unless my mom's listening to this, I don't know.
Listen.
She also knows what my mouth sounds like. And she's just everyone's just given up on me. They're like,
I've ruined my mother with this podcast because one, I'm usually unfiltered, and two, she called me after the one episode, and it was actually the 4th episode, and she goes, Sean, I want you to know something. I'm very disappointed in how you conveyed this story of how I cook Brussels sprouts. I'm like, what? And she's like, because I totally slammed her. I'll be dead honest, because she does basically a Catholic baptism, or a Catholic exorcism.
She cooks them all the way until they're brown,
Boils the hell out of them. That's the whole...
Yeah. That's why nobody, I make these Brussels sprouts, and they're, fried, and they get tossed with, this sweet and sour sauce, and then blah, 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 and everyone's like, oh, my God, I never liked Brussels sprouts, and I like them. And I want to say, one, it's because they're fried, but two, it's because we all grew up with our moms cooking the crap out of the Brussels sprouts.
Yes. And she swears up now, she's like, oh, I did not. Mom, you did. I love you, but you did. And the other thing, getting back to the question is, she's like, oh, I hope your boys aren't around when you're talking like that. So I'm kind of getting the same guilt trip laid on me about the verbality. But all right, so
I was trying to be really good. I was trying to edit myself while we were talking today and make sure that I was there was something I was going to say, and I was like, and crap. And I thought that was a good.
Honestly, I was doing the same thing because, this is Chef Karen from Top Chef. This is super exciting, so I want to be a good little boy. And I'm usually throwing them around like they're free. So,
right.
Wow, this is a good exercise for the both of us, Karen.
Congrats to us.
Yeah, go us.
Really
Pat on the back.
Professional today and making our moms proud.
I
making
know.
Your kids proud. I think we've done a great job. I'm giving you an over-the-phone high five.
I think we've done good work here, and when you come over at midnight or whenever, then we can let the filter off.
We'll drop the F-bomb.
Yeah. Hey, okay, so here we go. You're going to be stranded on a deserted island. Let's shift gears completely from language to hypothetical scenarios. Okay. You can take 3 foods with you. What would they be and why? Foods or food-type items.
Okay, maybe clementine so I don't get scurvy.
Ooh, nice. Very thoughtful.
Avocados because they are like a good fat. And I don't know, what else would you bring? Maybe some seafood of some kind. Maybe I could catch the fish.
There you go.
Shrimp or something like that, so that you were eating like protein. That was really, really good for you, and those things all sound good together.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that sounds almost like a ceviche, a makeshift ceviche.
Yeah, and then I would, I'd harvest some water and let it dry out, so I had salt to season the things with, and
wow.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like I can catch some fish.
We got to get you off Top Chef and onto Survivor. Then I think.
God,
you've
never.
Never.
But I will say, if it was a zombie apocalypse,
yes,
you definitely want me on your team.
Oh my God! Did you watch The Walking Dead?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about zombie apocalypse at Myers and Chang over the years, and it's pretty much unanimous that if you had to pick 3 people, you definitely want me on your zombie apocalypse team.
Your captain. I love it. I love it. Hey, have you ever checked out Melanie Dunea, My Last Supper?
No.
The next course, there's actually 2 of them. So, food author, photographer, and she does this book, My Last Supper, and it's 50 famous chefs, and they're asked the same question. It's kind of where some of the inspiration for the layout of this podcast came from, and they're asked the same group of questions pertaining to what would their last supper be. And I know that's a late night, drinking game that all chefs like to play. You have one meal left, what would it be? So I ask you, what would yours be?
My Last Supper?
Mm-hmm.
My Last Supper, oh God, it's like, it should probably be more interesting than this, but it would be like a lobster.
Yeah.
Right? Just a steamed lobster, French fries, and a martini.
I love it. How do you take your martini?
I take them up and a little bit dirty.
Oh, love it. Love it. That doesn't sound... I'm always amazed at the simplicity and the quickness with which the answer comes. Because, you just know.
And I don't drink a lot of martinis anymore, but that's kind of that would be in there. Maybe I'll throw in an arugula salad for some vegetables, but lobster, French fries, martini, definitely.
Oh, why do you need the salad? You're not coming back the next day, so... Let's be honest. Let's be honest. And Chef Karen, the final question, the simplest question, but perhaps the most deep. What is food to you in a single word?
Love.
So quick. So quick. So quick.
That's the easy one. That's why I cook.
Yeah.
I'd love to, I know that there's, I don't know, you cook from your heart, you cook to give people things, you cook to make people happy, you cook to see the looks on their face. I started cooking because I was falling in love. Mm-hmm. I continue to cook because feeding people is just really a great joy, and that's part of it.
That's it.
Part of the magic.
That's it. Yeah, and I mean, as a viewer, as a fan, I can only tell you how much that love is apparent, and that's why, honestly, no smoke up anybody's backside. Remember, we're being nice. That love and that persona is so clear and so evident. So I really thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today.
Oh, Sean, that means so much to me. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. It's been really fun.
Absolutely. Be sure to check out, folks, Chef Karen Akunowicz on Top Chef California, Thursdays 9, 8 Central, BravoTV.com for more details. And if you want to check her stuff out in person, which, believe me, mind you, it might not be a week, but I'm going to be up there sooner than later. Myers and Chang, 1145 Washington Street, South End, Boston, 617-542-5200. Also, September 2017, be ready for the Myers and Chang cookbook. Anything else I can drop for you here, Karen?
Oh, gosh, I have no idea. My home address,
my
Instagram handle.
Social security number,
blood
blood type.
Instagram, I'm Karen Cake. No, I think that's it.
Right on,
Come
right
on.
on.
My house, drop by.
Yeah, not awkward at all. So, again, Chef Karen, I thank you so very much.
Thanks so much, Sean. It was really nice talking to you.
You got it. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 33, the double threes of the Coarse Grind Podcast. My producer...
Oh, that's got to be lucky.
I know, right? That's some kind of Chinese numerology. My producer has been the Reverend Johnny Lamoria, a.k.a. Johnny Leland Robinson. Be sure to check out his podcast, Cinematic Pig's Feet. Next episode will be number 34. It's not double three, so it's not as lucky, but be sure to tune back in and check us out. Take care.